And now, fresh in the podcast feed, two homosexuals discuss the first episode in a brand new television serial, Doctor Who.
Let me get this straight. A thing that looks like a police box standing in a junkyard, it can move anywhere in time and space.
Hello.
It's Christmas Eve, the day this episode's going out, so...
Ho, 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 Merry Christmas.
Indeed, yes. Or whatever holiday you celebrate. We thought we'd do something a little special, just to give you a little festive bonus episode, because we're not at the point in the series yet where we're ready to start doing Christmas specials of the show. So we thought we'd do something different, and we thought we would go back and I'd show Ben the first episode of An Unearthly Child. The very first episode of Doctor Who from 1963, 59 years ago. And I did try to warn Ben that television was a very different animal back then. But yeah, he's sat through it, 25 minutes. So go on, hit me with it. What were your impressions?
Susan has climbed her way. No, didn't climb her way. She rocketed her way up to the most annoying character I have ever witnessed.
Okay. Oh, grandfather, no, you mustn't.
Oh, my God.
Oh, grandfather,
Yeah. Oh, no, she's so annoying. And it's called Doctor Who, and he was in half of the episode.
This was the first episode, Ben. This was introduced. And remember what I've told you, that the pace of the stories was so much slower back then. This was part 1 of 4. So what we watch in 45 minutes would have been spread over 4 weeks. And we basically watched a quarter of the story. So yeah, it was a very different thing back then.
Yeah. But no, it's still called Doctor Who, and yet we saw him in the second half of 25 minutes.
He wasn't even referred to as the Doctor in this episode at all.
And I asked Stephen many moons ago that the Doctor's surname is not Who.
Yes.
In those credits, it was a Doctor Who.
Yes.
So I do believe his surname is Doctor Who.
That's how they used to credit him as the character, but it's not. He's never, in the narrative of the show, he's never referred to as Doctor Who. It's just because it's the title of the show and he's the title character. That's why they put it like that. But yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you didn't really enjoy yourself.
No, I was like, when is this going to be over?
Why are you watching this? Okay, fair enough. Was it not interesting at all for you to just see like the roots of where this came from?
I would have just been glad for 5 minutes route, not a 25-minute route.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Can I give my personal views on this? Because I've deliberately chosen not to put you through the next 3 episodes. You know, because we could have watched the whole story. We could have watched all 4 parts. So what if you want to know a brief sketch of what happens? They go back in time like 100,000 years.
To cavemen.
To the Stone Age, yeah. And they basically they encounter like cavemen who are trying to create fire and they don't know how to do it, and they capture the Doctor and the companions. And it's quite dull and boring, to be honest, the rest of the story, which is why I didn't want to put you through it. But that first episode, that first 25 minutes, as like an introduction to the entire series, which now spans nearly 60 years, it's a hugely important piece of television. Like it's not perfect. It's far from perfect. It's incredibly flawed. You know, you can tell that they had extremely limited resources, no money, no time. Literally, they didn't have time for retakes. They had budgeted in like possibly 1 or 2 reshoots of something if it didn't work out. But basically, they had to do it like a play, rehearse it, and then perform it for the cameras. That was how it was in those days. And they were in a tiny, tiny studio, like a broom cupboard. So all the odds were against it. So, you know, it's not technically the greatest piece of art ever made, but it's a very important piece of television, considering where Doctor Who goes and what it becomes. Yeah. You know, when they're in the junkyard, and it's quite dark. Yeah. I always find you can't really see what's going on.
No, you can't. You can't even see anything.
You can't see what's going on in that. And it's not like that going forward. Like, They very quickly work out how to use what they've got.
Okay.
I don't know if I've told you this before, but actually there's an unaired pilot version of this episode, that they recorded.
Okay.
People weren't happy with it, so they had to redo the whole thing, which was unheard of as well, because it's like that's a lot of money to just junk a whole episode and redo it.
Yeah.
But it is available to watch now. It's on BritBox and it's on DVDs. And comparing the two is quite interesting because you can see the changes they made. In the first pilot they did, I think the Doctor was a lot more cantankerous and like harsh, so they actually softened him to become what he is.
Anywho, we're not talking about that episode.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing. It's the same script basically. They edited it a bit. It's the same episode. They made some changes.
Oh, okay.
Like there was a reference in the pilot to Susan being born in the 51st century, I think, which is not canon because that's not the version that was then aired. Shall we start at the beginning with the titles and the theme music?
Yeah.
What did you think watching that?
I like the music's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Like you talked about the history of the music. That's cool. What are the squiggly patterns?
Okay, so this was something. Again, they were being innovative with the music, so they were trying to be innovative with the visuals as well. It's something called Howl Around. So it's basically the visual equivalent of a feedback on a microphone.
Okay.
So what they do is they get a camera with a monitor monitoring what's being filmed, and they point the camera down its own monitor. So you basically get an endless loop, like an endless loop of feedback.
Okay.
And that's how they create those swirling patterns.
I didn't like it. I'm going to preface this with I understand. I'm not a moron. I understand that telly was different back then. I understand storytelling was different back then. I understand the technology that they had was very different back then. But it does feel like that Doctor Who is always scraping at the bottom of the barrel of what can be done, because the BBC. I understand this episode and these 4 episodes probably are like, oh, we're going to see if this works. We're going to see if there's a niche for this and all that. I can understand that.
I think it nearly got cancelled after the first story.
Oh, okay.
But then the second story was the introduction of the Daleks, which were very popular, and that saved it.
Anywho, so yeah, I understand that telly was very different back then. But what you have to understand is that I am a 21st century being. I am a person who has opinions.
Yes. Oh, don't we know it?
Yes. And I would like to say that, did I enjoy it? No. Because would I enjoy it back then if I was like of the age and I was back in the 60s and watching this for the first time? Probably, because I'd be surrounded by similar television.
Yeah. Obviously, it doesn't hold up today at all by any stretch of the imagination. But
the new series is barely 20 years old, and that doesn't fucking hold up.
Okay, let's not.
BBC, get your act together. Give this show some money.
Well,
and you might have a blockbuster on your hands.
Good news, because they've been given a lot of money for the new series with Ncuti Gatwa. Disney money.
Disney money. You know why they want Doctor Who, don't you, Stephen?
Why?
So they can put a section of it in their theme park.
No.
Probably.
Oh God, that would be awful. Please
no, actually, I don't actually think that'd be awful. I think like an enclosed roller coaster where you are the TARDIS could be quite cool.
Okay.
But you're not a roller coaster person. So.
I'm not a roller coaster person.
But that would be cool.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. I feel like we have to kind of get over the fact that it's so old and dated and different.
Yeah.
And now we could just talk about what was in the episode.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
So,
who do you want me to talk about first?
Well, who do you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about the Doctor.
Oh, I was going to leave him till last.
Okay, we'll leave the Doctor till last. Let's talk about the pointless characters.
What, Ian and Barbara?
I absolutely detest them.
Oh no, I love Ian and Barbara.
Oh my God, I sense some romance happening.
Yeah, I've already mentioned that to you.
Yeah. Oh, that's why it was in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
Just like, oh my God, I feel frightened. Don't you feel it? Oh my God, Barbara, no, he doesn't. He would have told you if he feels frightened.
Once again, I think this is just 1960s storytelling.
Like, I'm going to swoon. I want to become Barbara Chesterfield.
One of my favourite lines she says is when they're trying to justify it, and she's like, if I thought I was just being a busybody, I'd go straight home.
And Barbara, I'm going to talk to you directly right now.
You think she is being a busybody?
You are being a busybody. You are
A teacher.
a teacher who is stalking a
A
student
15-year-old girl, yes.
and with your potential love interest. I'm sorry, Barbara, but if you were around today, there is one word that I would be saying to you right now. You're fired!
That's 2 words.
Oh.
3 if you count the contraction as 2. But yes, no, one of my questions to you was going to be, do you think they were right to follow her?
Oh, absolutely not. As long as she's producing good work,
Yeah.
then I know they say her homework is not up to scratch. But I'm sorry, they're also saying in the same section that she's a genius.
No, but I think they mean she's a genius overall, but then they see that her standards have vastly slipped recently. But I can see both sides of it as to whether they should have followed her, because no, they shouldn't have. And certainly, obviously, by today's standards, where we have a lot more safeguarding laws in place for schools and children, like, that's obviously you would never ever do that. But back then it wasn't quite as strict. But if they have a duty of care over her and they're concerned, I can understand why they would feel they want to check what her living situation is. Because for all they know, they found it was a junkyard. She could have been homeless, living in a junkyard. Like,
This is what I'm going to call the Honey Paradox.
what's that?
Miss Honey
Oh,
also
yeah.
does oversteps the mark.
We're talking about Matilda, for anyone who's not sure.
What does paradox mean?
Paradox is like 2 conflicting things that can't, like an oxymoron, I think.
Basically, the Honey Paradox is where a teacher oversteps the boundaries.
Okay, I'm not sure it is a paradox, but anyway, go on.
The Honey...
Miss Honey syndrome. Should we call it that?
The Miss Honey Syndrome. The
Yeah.
Honey Syndrome is where a teacher oversteps the mark.
Yes. Because we're in a
Overly-
work of fiction and it's narratively necessary to do so.
Yes.
But in the real world,
You would not get away with it.
You would not do that, yeah.
She who should not be named...
JK.
She who should not be
Okay,
named...
yeah, just checking who you meant, yes.
She who should not be named does a very good role. Like, her teachers go if you say, like, being a normal teacher and being overly nice and protecting is on one side, she goes so far on the opposite side and says, do you know what? I'm going to have a teacher bully a student.
Well, yeah, no, that's also completely inappropriate, but yeah.
I'm going to have a teacher that has such a deep-rooted grudge.
Yeah. Do you think we're ever going to do a podcast episode where we don't bring up Harry Potter at least once?
I think it's fine as long as we mention her as she who should not be named.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
named a character he who not be named. She can have that treatment right back to her.
She named a character like Bruce Forsyth.
Who?
You. That's what you just did.
If anybody knows my boyfriend personally, they'll know that he is a massive a-hole.
I knew you were going to say that. So you thought Barbara and Ian were pointless?
Yeah.
No. They're far from pointless. They
Not pointless, just a bit tedious.
tedious, okay. But you agree they're not pointless. They are our audience's way in.
They are
To the story.
they are your entrance. I understand that.
Yeah.
That's fine. But their characterization is a bit wooden and a bit
Yeah, that's not them. That's not the characters and it's not the actors. That is acting in the 60s for TV.
Question.
Yeah.
Has Doctor Who ever gone back to this episode?
Yes.
And from modern day going back to an old episode?
No, not modern day. In the 80s, Sylvester McCoy's Doctor took his companion back to the same school, Coal Hill School, that they were at the beginning.
Yeah.
In 1963. I think it was because it was an anniversary, like the 25th anniversary or something.
Okay.
They went back, and so yeah, they have done that. But they didn't see any of the old characters. Although on that note, I did want to mention, I don't know if I've told you this, but William Russell, who plays Ian, I think he's 97 at the moment, and he has just achieved a world record because he reprised his role of Ian Chesterton briefly in a cameo in the most recent episode of Doctor Who to air, The Power of the Doctor, Jodie Whittaker's final one. And that means it's the longest gap between appearances of the same character played by the same actor on a TV show.
Oh.
So that's pretty cool.
Well done.
William Russell.
William Russell.
Yeah.
Is he any relation of Willie Russell?
No, But he is a relation of Alfred Enoch, who played Dean in Harry Potter. With back to Potter again. He's I think he's his grandfather.
Oh.
Anyway, so you found them a bit 60s and a bit
Yeah,
stilted.
just like, get on with it.
Yeah.
You've been talking about this child for like a bit too long now.
Okay.
I understand that's probably what teachers do. They go in the teacher's lounge and they're like, so, do you have Bob in your class too?
As someone
Is
who
he a
works...
little shit with you as well?
Yeah.
Disgusting!
As someone who works in a school, my official answer to that is no, of course. Teachers never do that. But my unofficial answer is
yes,
of
they
course
bloody
they do.
well do.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, that so-and-so was a fucking toe rag.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't like them. I just felt like...
Okay.
I just felt like I didn't believe they were friends.
Fair enough. It's personally, I think it's just the tone of
That's fine.
how it was. But yeah. Also, I think you'd need to see them in action, like in a proper episode, not just like this introductory one, to really get a sense of them. Because Ian in particular, I really like. I think he's really... Because the Doctor in this first iteration was an old man, he couldn't do any of the actiony stuff. So anytime anything like that was needed, Ian was the one who did it. And he's a kind person, and he cares for Barbara, and Barbara's very intelligent. She's always working things out. Like, I think that was cool that they chose to have two school teachers be the first companions.
Yeah.
Because it's like, actually, when Doctor Who was conceived, they quite wanted to go down this route of it being quite an educational show. Like, they didn't really end up going down that route, but I think they wanted to go back in time to historical periods and for it to be really educational for children.
Oh, I can see that where Susan picks up the book and like the French Revolution book, and she's like, "That's wrong."
Yeah.
And like I can see that they were trying to drip that in already.
Yeah.
Anyhow, let's talk about the she-devil herself.
Oh my god.
No,
Susan.
she's not a she-devil. I'm just being cheeky.
She's also still alive. Carol Ann Ford, who played her.
I just find she grated on my nerves. Every sentence she said, "No, grandfather! Yes, grandfather! Three bags full, fucking grandfather!"
I know exactly what you mean. For me, I do find her annoying, but I've grown to enjoy her annoyingness.
I don't have time for that.
No.
And where is she now? Where is Susan? What is she doing?
Well, you'd have to watch the show to find that out.
Is she a Time Lord?
She's the same... Okay.
So is she a Time Lady? Is that what they call them?
Yes. She is obviously the same species as the Doctor, but back when they made this, they had not given them a name of a species or a name of a planet or anything. That came along later.
Okay.
They were just mysterious
aliens.
People. In fact, I don't even necessarily believe that they were intended to be aliens.
Oh.
I think they were intended to be humans from the far future.
Oh. So, question.
Yeah.
If the Time Lord, aka 2005 Doctor Who, killed all his
people,
he killed his granddaughter as well. Susan, are you dead? Do we need to get the poor little scullery maid to do a seance and get you back?
I can answer this.
Gwyneth, come on, hold my hand.
So
come on, Gwyneth.
Can I answer this for you?
Yeah.
So when it was when Carol Ann Ford decided to leave the show, they wrote it in that they had an episode set on Earth in the year 2150, and she met a human and fell in love with him, and she stayed on Earth with him, and the Doctor's never gone back to visit her since then.
Oh. Doctor. Oh, Doctor.
Yes?
You are not alone. How dare you lie to us?
Well, she might be...
2150. He could go back and see his granddaughter anytime he wants.
True.
Oh my God.
Can I say something
I feel
else?
lied to, cheated on, slapped in the face with a wet fish, with this revelation that he is not the only one of his species.
Okay.
He could resurrect... No, he couldn't resurrect his own species. That would be very weird.
Yeah. Can I speak?
I feel really, really, really slapped in the face with a wet fish.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So, the thing about the Time War is, because it took place between classic and new, series. There's a lot we don't know about it. We don't know who was involved specifically. Now, I'm personally, the Doctor says in the new series he is the last of his species. He would have gone, if he could go back and see Susan, he would have done by now, right? Personally, my headcanon would be that the Time War happened and Susan was recruited to be involved and she died in it.
No.
Why?
I don't believe that.
Why?
Because how would they know where she is?
Because the Doctor knows.
Yeah, but like, I don't think she'd be recruited. She's one person.
Okay.
I don't think she'd be recruited.
But the Time War was ruthless.
Yeah, the Time War was ruthless, but maybe she hid.
Maybe. That's the whole point. We don't know.
Susan, you're still alive. I predict that we're going to see Susan in this new series.
Oh, what, the new Russell T Davies series?
If they brought back old man, they're going to bring back old lady.
Sorry, what? If they brought back old man, they're going to bring back old lady?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean they brought back William Russell?
Yeah.
They're going to bring back... No.
Susan is still alive.
Can I say, you know, we had the 50th anniversary back in 2013, and there was a special episode, The Day of the Doctor, that was broadcast, and then after that, there was this famously glitchy event that happened. It was broadcast on BBC Three live. I think it was called Doctor Who The After Party or something. And it was basically they wanted to do a big celebration for the 50th anniversary. So they got basically every surviving actor who'd played a companion who was willing to come join this party and watch the screening of the episode.
She didn't come.
No, she did. She did, but she was hilarious because Zoe Ball was presenting it and she went up to her and she said, so you played the Doctor's first companion and his granddaughter. Bearing in mind I don't know how old she was at this point, probably in her 70s. And Zoe Ball said to her, so tell me, you've just watched Day of the Doctor by Stephen Moffat. How similar is that to the show that you were in back in the 60s? And she just looked completely blank and she just went, it doesn't bear any resemblance at all.
Susan.
Yeah.
The person who plays Susan.
Yeah.
I love you, Susan. I don't love the character that you played. I think she's tedious and boring and whiny and irritating.
Aw. She is.
She's 15, but she comes across like 12.
Oh, well, yeah. So
like
the actress was, I think she was in her 20s, like 23.
Yeah, she
when
comes
she did
across
it.
really old,
And
like
she
really
was
young, and I didn't like that.
Acting young, yeah.
Like, she didn't come across as a teenager, she came across as a child.
Mm,
Anyhow.
I get that.
Anyway, what's next on your list?
I was going to say Susan is a famous squealer.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Is she on Judy's level?
Who's Judy? You mean Jackie?
Okay. Oops. I was like, J. It begins with J.
Yeah,
I'm going to
Jackie.
shoot with Judy.
No, Jackie Tyler. No, it's a different sort of screaming, I think.
Jackie Tyler
Yeah.
annoys me.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about Jackie today.
Susan annoys me. Bob annoys me.
Who?
Bob.
Who's Bob?
Oh, Bob. Bob.
Ian? The man, Ian.
Bob and Bobette. That's their name.
Ian and Barbara.
Bob and Bobette.
Bob and Bobette. Okay. I just want to point out, in the little flashback to the history lesson,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, how could the 60s predict?
the decimal system.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to say. I love that. It's so good. Because I think there was probably enough talk about it that they were considering going on to it for a long time. But it's just brilliant that it worked out. 1971 was when they switched.
I know.
The fact that it just makes it feel so much more real. That she's like, I thought you were on the decimal system. Oh no, it hasn't started yet.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
What was their system called before then?
I don't know if it had a
Imperial?
name. Yeah, it was just shillings and all that.
Did they have pounds back then?
They did, but I think worth a different amount.
Oh, okay.
But decimal just makes sense for everything. Like, so much easier to work with.
Yeah.
Anyway, in the science lesson, when Ian set them the problem using A, B, and C
Yeah.
as the 3 dimensions, so you've got like length, width, and depth or whatever.
Yeah.
And then she says, unless you use D and E, you can't do it. So she says D is time, and then she says E is space. I've never understood that personally, because for me, I thought the first 3 dimensions make up space. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, space is made up of length, width, and depth, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't understand that unless there's something I'm missing.
I'm going to just say this, Stephen. I'm not a psychologist. No, that's the wrong one. I'm not a physicist, so I cannot help you.
Okay. When they were in the junkyard, you said to me, "Oh, let me guess, the TARDIS is broken."
Oh, and it was. He literally said in there that I found something.
I found... Yes, he did, didn't he?
Which means the TARDIS was broke.
Well, yeah, but that wasn't the reason they were staying there, I don't think, was it?
Probably.
No, because I think she was staying there because she liked... She said, "I love England in the 20th century."
Yeah.
And I think he was staying there for her so she could enjoy her time there.
Yeah.
So tell me about the Doctor then.
Okay, I didn't like him.
He's a very different character to what he becomes.
I like my Christopher Eccleston.
I know you do.
He's witty, charming, funny, handsome.
All right.
All these like cool qualities
Yeah.
that like make up like a well-rounded character, and I
Yeah.
just feel like this person is just shouty.
Shouty. Okay.
Shouty.
Crotchety.
Yeah, and he just felt like a typical old man.
Yeah.
And like it's just everything was one note. Everything was like shouty, 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 shouty.
I don't agree that it was all one note because I could sense a twinkle on certain bits. And some bits he was much more ponderous. Yes.
Oh my
And
god,
then-
I know why I don't like him.
Why?
He reminds me of a certain character that I fucking can't stand.
Who's that?
Willy Wonka in the old one.
Oh yes.
If you don't know me, I absolutely cannot abide Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
It's Gene Wilder you don't like.
Oh,
isn't it?
cringy, cringy, cringe.
Okay.
Absolutely don't.
I like that film and I like him. But anyway. Yes, he does have that quality, that sort of twinkle behind the eyes.
Yeah.
I get a Dumbledore vibe as well.
Oh, I like Dumbledore more.
Anyway, but also I think this is possibly again a product of just watching one episode. Literally, this is his starting point. He's got somewhere to go now. He's got a journey to, and he does soften. And I think part of it is Ian and Barbara as the human characters almost teaching him how to be human or how to be compassionate. Because
Who is
he's
Susan's dad
no idea,
or mother?
no idea. It's all a mystery.
So, I know a character called River Song
Here we go. How do you know this character?
because you messed up my YouTube.
Oh yes,
And I saw.
and you'd heard of her. You'd heard of her anyway, hadn't you?
I think so.
Yeah.
Um,
So go on then, get your theories out there.
She must be the mother of his children.
So you think River Song is the mother of the Doctor's children,
Yeah.
and then one of their children has Susan.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting theory.
Overall, the episode was okay.
Really?
Oh, it is like 0.5.
Oh yeah, I wasn't even going to say we
But
should
like,
rate it.
I was going
Yeah.
to say, like, on the perspective of its time,
Yes.
it's okay.
Yes.
Could I watch the series? I don't think so. I'm sorry for everyone who loves the original series.
Yeah.
Yes, that's not for me, and that's okay.
Yeah, but also don't lump the whole thing together because An Unearthly Child in 1963 and Survival, which was the last episode in 1989, are completely different. They're as different as that and the new series
Yeah.
are.
I will be honest with you, Stephen. I wouldn't be really interested watching any more of this one, but maybe another Doctor I'll try.
Yeah. To be honest, I think that would be nice for us to do as like bonuses, like to watch one story from every Doctor, maybe.
What episode?
You can't. This one stands on its own, but I think other ones you have to watch the whole thing. But yeah.
Oh, and I hate the fact that we didn't see any aliens.
It's
No troll babies, no boogers, nothing. No metal robot that looks like a can opener.
Yeah, there's no aliens in this story because
What is... Oh, well...
that's a caveman, the thing that came in at the end.
Oh.
Yeah. The cavemen are the threat, basically. But that's the direction they wanted to go with it. They Sidney Newman, who created the show, was very clear. He said, I don't want any bug-eyed monsters. I don't want it to be that sort of show. Obviously, we did end up with bug-eyed monsters. But he didn't want it to be like that.
I miss them.
Okay. Well, you'll get plenty more of them as we continue watching.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about the TARDIS and its introduction in this episode?
Snore.
Why?
I don't know. It was all very white.
Yeah, that's how it was designed.
All very glowy.
Yeah, because it's a
Oh, and the entrance was not very smooth.
Oh, what the transition from outside
And those
to
doors,
inside. Yeah, they're like that for the whole of the classic series, pretty much.
they don't really work. So there must be a tunnel from the front door to those doors.
Yeah,
There
you
must be a
mean it
space.
doesn't match up?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I love about the design of the 2005 TARDIS, that you can see the back of the police box doors.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah.
They didn't go down that route in the old series. It was these big. Yeah, there must be some weird tunnel thing.
Must be inspired by other TV shows that like maybe dealt with space.
Yeah, it's a bit the whole inside being like white, like you say, very clinical. It's like
Maybe.
very.
That's what they thought the future would be.
Yeah, it's very 60s vision of the future.
Yeah.
So you see it was a police box in this episode because it had landed in the 1960s in London, and so it blended in with what's something that would be found in the 60s in London. But then it goes back to the Stone Age and it's still a police box. And at the start of the second episode, they come out of the TARDIS and the Doctor looks at it and he says, "Oh dear, dear me, it's still a police box. How very disturbing. Why hasn't it changed?" And that's when he realises that it's broken and it's going to be stuck as a police box. And they did that for budget reasons.
Of course they did.
But they did it for budget reasons, but it's become so iconic. The police box shape is now more associated with Doctor Who than its original function.
Yeah. I can understand that.
Did you notice what Susan said about the TARDIS? The name TARDIS?
She made it up.
Yeah. That's quite a controversial point within Doctor Who.
Oh my god, more fans going mad about things.
Because she says in this first episode, "I made up the name TARDIS from the initials, time and relative dimension in space."
You can't make it up if you're just taking one letter from everything. Love, you made an acronym. Well done.
That wasn't what I was going to say, though. The point is, she says she made it up, but future episodes way down the line, when they go and meet the Time Lords, they all have TARDISes and they all call them TARDISes. So clearly Susan didn't make it up.
No, she didn't.
So yeah, that's a bit controversial.
Oh, Susan, you've just lost any points you ever gained with me.
I like to think when she was a child, she pretended she made it up, and the Doctor was like humouring her.
That's not canon, Stephen, so we can't accept it, unfortunately.
It's headcanon. I like to think.
That's your headcanon.
Yeah. Anyway, so you're not inspired to watch more?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I am chugging my way through these episodes of the new series, and I can just about cope with that. One a week.
Yeah, personally, there are a couple of pre-2005 things that I would be particularly keen for you to see. One of them, as I've mentioned, is the 96 movie with Paul McGann. One of which is I think it was the 20th anniversary special in 1983 called The Five Doctors. And it's like a big multi-doctor, like the incarnations of himself meet.
Okay.
That is a fun one.
Isn't that a paradox?
It is a paradox, yeah. But it gets dealt with. Maybe further down the line, maybe doing one story from each Doctor could be cool. Just because it would be good for you to just know who the different Doctors are. Because for me, it's just crazy that you don't know. When I say the third Doctor, you don't immediately have a picture in your head of who that is. Whereas
I know who it is.
everybody listening,
I know who it is.
who is it?
John Pertwee.
Yes, it is. Well done. How did you know that?
Just guessed off the top of my head.
You were right. It was John Pertwee. But you don't know what he looks like, do you?
No.
No.
I was going to guess the man out of Harry Potter who owes Ollivanders, but then I couldn't remember his name.
What, John Hurt?
Yeah.
So he is a doctor. Later, he's a special doctor. But funnily enough, the aesthetic of Ollivander in Harry Potter is not a million miles away from the aesthetic of the third Doctor. Yeah. He's kind of velvety and big, roughly cuffs and big white puffy hair.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. Anyway, what I was trying to say was the fact that I can say like the fifth Doctor, the third Doctor, and everyone listening will have a picture in their head immediately of who I'm talking about. And for you, it's just completely blank. That's crazy. I think you should know.
I like it that way.
You should know who these Doctors are.
I like it that way.
No.
Yeah.
You need to know. You need to be
Why do I need
ingrained
to
into the Who lore.
know? Anywho.
Do you know, that could have been an alternative title for this podcast. The amount of times you say it. Anywho. Don't you think that would have been a cool title?
Yeah.
I like About Time, though.
Stephen come up with a name About Time.
Yeah.
I said, can we brainstorm it? He said no.
Yeah, because it's a good title. It's a good title.
And we talk about me being a control freak with creative things like the Christmas tree, but when it comes to like this creative project, this is Stephen's baby.
Let's face it, we are two control freaks, and so us working on a project together is always going to be quite volatile.
Yeah. But no. Stephen is good. Like, he does I do the recording, I watch it, and I do this little recording thing for him, and he does all everything else.
Yeah.
He does all the social media, makes all the TikToks.
Yeah.
But anywho, I'm going to start a new segment
Okay.
in this Christmas special.
Right.
I wanted to start a new segment called What the Fuck Fashion.
Okay.
The Doctor in this episode, going off the fashion, looks remarkably like he could have been Lucius's father. The long white hair, the little thing on his head.
It's called a hat, Ben.
Little thing that looks like a dead mole on his head. Like, don't you think he could have stepped in as Lucius' father in Harry Potter?
I get it.
And be like, oh, look at me. I mean, he just didn't. They've come from so far away. He doesn't look like he's come back. He looks like he's come from the Victorian times or like late 1910s, rather than comes from future. Like, he didn't feel modern to me.
Yeah.
He felt like a grandfather, and they dressed him up for that. They didn't think about what would a grandfather wear in 2020. They didn't think about. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
They didn't think about that. They didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean.
Feels discombobulated, and like Susan, wouldn't she want to go home and like relax? And what they dressed to her made her look like an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, she should have been wearing, my personal opinion, like a circle skirt.
Yeah.
Like, they were very popular back then.
Yeah.
Early to 60s circle skirt. Like, she was wearing capri pants, which were like, I think we...
Was she?
They looked like capris. Like 3/4 length trousers.
Okay. I thought she was wearing a dress.
It wasn't a dress.
Oh, no. Yeah, sorry, I'm thinking of something else. No, she was wearing a stripy top. She had an even weirder costume in the unaired pilot, like some weird futuristic thing.
That I would have appreciated.
Yeah.
Like, it would have felt like, actually, they do come from far away.
Okay.
Like, what the Doctor could be wearing, like, and this is quite, like, off the top of my head, like, silver was very futuristic back then.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Anywho, yeah, what the fuck fashion is today.
Okay.
The award goes to the Doctor wearing a weird
hat.
mole on his head.
A mole on his head. Okay.
And he looks so creepy. Things like, he looks like some demonic creature.
Yeah, he is supposed to be unsettling.
Yeah, I don't like him.
He's not a likable character in this first era.
No.
So that was a thing, wasn't it, that we watched? See, I still enjoy it just as I still believe it's highly important in television history, and it's, as a Doctor Who fan, it's where it all began.
Yeah, and you're allowed to think that.
And for you, you're still working your way into this whole world, and it must be just quite strange for you.
I'm guessing that you watched the first series and then you went back and watched some of these older ones.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I got the DVD box set called The Beginning, which had this one, An Unearthly Child. It had the Daleks, and then it had a 2-episode story that was kind of squeezed in called The Edge of Destruction, which is set entirely within the TARDIS, which is a really good one, like a psychological one. And yeah, love that. Love all of those, particularly the Daleks. Yeah, maybe we'll watch the Daleks one day. It's really good.
I love it.
They don't say that. In fact, I don't even think they say exterminate in that episode.
Well, that was your Christmas special.
Yes, or festive seasonal special.
If you celebrate Christmas, I hope you enjoy your Christmas dinner tomorrow. I know I will. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas from me.
Yeah, same for me. Enjoy your festive season. Merry Christmas. Other holidays are available.